What's up, everybody? Welcome to the latest edition of the RiOT Comedy Podcast presented by RiOT. Shout out to RiOT, spring water, keeping us healthy and hydrated over here. NBA updates, NFL news. Let's get into it.
Yeah,
Cavaliers,
let's
15-0 Cavs. Let's start off with that. What is separating Cleveland from the rest of the league right now? Why can nobody beat these guys?
because they're better than them. I wish I had a deeper answer than that, but this is how you're reaping the rewards essentially of actually keeping your team together and not panicking every 25 games and trading players and firing coaches. And I know they got a new coach this year, but I'm just saying, like, they're just not, the panic button has not been hit. I think you have other franchises out there that as soon as they got Donovan Mitchell and played a season together, they would have traded Garland and Mobley and tried to bring in another superstar and basically just try to do all these things that the Bucks tried to do with Damian Lillard. I think but that's why, like, this is just a team that's played together for the last 3 or 4 years, and everybody knows their role, understands their position. They actually have position basketball. They don't play positionless basketball like dum-dums. And that leads to wins in the NBA. Whenever you have a good big, a good shooting guard, a good point guard, a good, power forward, you have guys who know how to play defense. You have guys that play offense. Like, it's going to lead to wins. It really is that simple. There's not a recipe that they're cooking together. It's really just that they're a better basketball team than 95% of the league.
I think the big thing you touched on is they don't play positionless basketball. They have a 1 through 5 that plays basketball the way basketball is kind of supposed to be played for the most part. And whenever you actually have guys that know their role and know their position, it pretty much always works out really well.
Correct. And, not to sound like an old guy here, because I'm not saying that you shouldn't try to play positionless basketball if your roster warrants it or anything like that.
Exactly. If you got the personnel, you can pull it off.
But you'll never be able to still beat a team that has a solid 1 through 5 and everybody actually plays their positions the way that it's supposed to be played, and they know how to play the game of basketball. Basketball in its entirety, from the time that it was invented till right now, if you have poetry in motion and you have players that know how to play positions, you will beat a positionless basketball team every single time, unless the other team is Kawhi, LeBron, Giannis, Paul George, and then somebody else, and Michael Jordan. Like, you'll beat these teams that like the Nuggets won a championship playing like this like 3 years ago. They had a good center, they had a power forward, they had the rim running power forward, they had a good shooting, they had a good point guard. Their shooting guard knew how to play the shooting guard position. They had Michael Porter Jr. at the small forward. Like, it was guys that played the 1 through 5 and knew how to play it. We see people win championships like this all the time. The Toronto Raptors squeaked out a championship in the middle of, the old forgotten about championship almost, but like, they won a championship playing exactly like this as well. Like, the Boston Celtics couldn't win a championship until they went out and got a guy who's played point guard for their career, and they went out and got an actual fucking center that plays basketball. These are all things that you have to win in the NBA, unless you have LeBron James on your team. And that's even the Milwaukee Bucks, like, they didn't win. Like, the same thing happened. The Bucks won a championship because they went out and got a damn point guard to take the ball out of Giannis's hands. Yeah. And they made Giannis play a little bit different style of basketball. And then, boom, the Boston Celtics were like, well, since you don't want Drew Holiday, we'll take him. And then they got Drew Holiday, got a point guard in there to actually orchestrate a little bit of offense. Boom, championship. The damn not Memphis Grizzlies, but the damn Timberwolves were better than they had ever been last year, because they had 1 through 5. They went and got a point guard, Anthony Edwards. You don't need to play point guard. Karl-Anthony Towns. You don't need to bring the ball up. These are all things that lead to championships. This is why the people can say the Knicks might not be looking as good as they looked last year. They're going to be better. Trust me. It's because they now have guys who play positions. This is important. You're not going to win a championship with positionless basketball. The only team that we've really ever even seen do it for the most part successfully was the Warriors, and that's because they had 2 of the top 15 greatest players of all time on their team. You can do it then. But even still, you had, I guess they were kind of positionless basketball. Their 1 through 4, though, played the positions exactly how you're supposed to play them. Steph,
I was
Clay,
just going to say that.
Draymond,
kind of a hybrid.
KD.
They always had exactly everything except a bona fide center. And there were years where they did have one. But, yeah, they always ran a hybrid. But also, again, like you said, when you got the 2 greatest shooters in your backcourt to ever, set foot on an NBA court, you don't have to play by the same rules as everybody else.
You don't.
Whenever you're
and the Lakers also. If they don't have Rajon Rondo, probably don't win a championship when they have LeBron. So
Real
like,
talk. Real
you
talk.
got to fit. And then they went and got true centers and Dwight and JaVale, and they had AD at the 4. Like they played and they had KCP, the unsung hero for the Nuggets too.
Yeah.
A true shooting guard. And then they had Danny Green out there making threes at the 2. Like they had guys that knew how to play positions and guys that knew how to play intelligent basketball. This will lead you to championships every single time. People like Giannis. Giannis does not know how to play basketball. That is a fact. So like they have to go get a point guard in there that's going to tell Giannis to go away. Go away from the ball. Go away. Go to the post. Go to the post.
Not
go
only
be
do
Shaq.
the Cavs play, your traditional basketball with your 1 through 5, but they play almost like 80s style to the extent of nobody is dominating too much. Like Donovan Mitchell's only averaging like 24 something, less than 25 points a game,
which is great.
And it's fantastic. Like you can win like that. We just haven't seen it a lot lately because whenever Michael Jordan came in the game and started busting off 30 every night and still winning championships, then everyone was like, oh, well, maybe this is the way. And we've kind of been stuck in that mode ever since.
And if you have
some teams be able to do it still.
And if you have a Scottie Pippen on your team, then go out and get 30. Because I have a utility guy that's going to be the best defender on the court and score 20 and then play point guard half the game. So like, that would work great. That works great. And you can still win championships getting 30. Because at the end of the day, like that's what sets the Cavs apart is, yes, Donovan Mitchell's getting 24 points a night, but you can trust him in the playoffs to give you 30 consistently.
Absolutely.
And that's what separates them from every other team in the league besides the Boston Celtics, because Jason Tatum getting 30 night in, night out in the playoffs, to me, is not realistic. But him and Jaylen Brown scoring 50 combined tonight in the playoffs, that's super realistic, which means that's really, really hard to beat. So you got to have a guy that's going to give you 30, 35 a night consistently and do it mildly efficient, which they have. Mm-hmm. Like, that's what I like. And one, I know, not to jump off the Cavs thing too heavy, but one thing that I would like to bring up is that, he's hurt right now, but Ja Morant is super good, by the way.
Yeah, he's a baller.
Like, I'm convinced he's a top 5 player in the league. Like, nobody in the NBA for real is better than this dude.
It's such a different team with him on the court versus off the court. Night and day. Like,
I think Ja Morant's good enough to where, like, and I reserve this right for, like, only, like, maybe 5-6 guys in the league total. He's good enough to be the best player on a championship team. I truly believe that Ja Morant is that good. I honestly think that, like, when he's on the court and he's at full potential, like, this dude's a top 5 player in the league. I don't know who you can even name 5 guys that would be above him except for, like, I don't even think Anthony Edwards is better than him. I really don't. Like, I think they're the same. Now, I don't think Ja's better than him.
Right now.
What do you say?
Yeah. I think that's fair to say. They're exact same tier as of right now.
When I watch this dude play, I'm amazed. And I've been watching basketball religiously for 25 years, and he amazes me. He truly does. Yeah, and it's not because of the stupid 360 layups that he pulled off 2 in one game. Like, great. I'm not calling the move stupid. Like, score however you can score. But it's not because of that. I didn't start jocking his nuts like half people because he's the most athletic basketball player ever. This dude is super good at basketball. He gets baskets when he's supposed to. He knows.
He's a straight hooper.
And he knows how to control a basketball game. He does.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to shout.
Not a lot of dudes know how to control a basketball game.
Correct. And I also wanted to shout out James Harden, number 2 all time in threes now. Shout out James Harden. He's going to be only the second player to hit, I think it was 3,003 marker. He might be able to do it this season, maybe not. He's still like 800 behind Steph, which that lead's going to keep getting larger and larger. But according to James Harden, he's number 1 in threes all time now because Steph doesn't count, and that's fair to say because you have the most threes ever except for this guy. It's like having the second most assists ever. Like, that's all you can get to. You'll never be able to get to number 1. So, like, getting number 2 is damn near as good because that record was unobtainable and you knew it was for the last decade. So, well, the 3-point, I know he just broke it, but we all knew 5-6 years ago, 7 years ago, Steph was going to shatter this fucking record and it wasn't even going to be close. So, shout out James Harden on making history, dude. Like, you were 6th man and they traded you away for fucking Kevin Martin and some peanuts, dog, and you won an MVP, went to a Western Conference Finals. I knocked James Harden more than most people just because I don't think that his style of play leads to championships, but you can't take away the fact that the dude's a bona fide hooper. You can't take that away.
All that.
And shout out James Harden, dog, because what a fantastic fucking record to have. And not to mention, like, Dame, same way. I know that I say a lot of things about Damian Lillard. His style of play doesn't really usually win it. He's never shot 40% from three. Doesn't mean he doesn't jack a bunch. And James Harden's going to finish his career with, like, more three-pointers made than Dame and probably more assists than Steve Nash. So shout out James Harden, dog. Unbelievable. Unbelievable job.
Real hooper.
And then the last thing I
Another
wanted
real hooper we got. Go
Go ahead.
ahead.
No, you're good.
I was gonna say, real hooper, Jokic leading the NBA in assists and rebounds, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he's 5th in scoring.
Top
That's
5
absolutely
or 6 in
fucking
scoring for
bonkers.
sure. Bonkers.
Bonkers. Absolutely bonkers. And he's tied for 9th or 10th in steals. That's just absolutely retarded for a center to be leading the league in assists, be top 10 in steals. That's crazy as it is. And you also top 5 in scoring and you're leading in rebounds. How do you this man's going to have his 4th MVP, which is crazy to think that Jokic is going to have the same amount of MVPs as LeBron James and Wilt Chamberlain.
Well, what sucks for him, though, is that, like, you might get this 4th one, then you'll never even get the chance to win another one, you know?
Right, for sure.
It's bullshit. It's bullshit, and, you know, neither here nor there, because that was the question I wanted to bring up to you is, like, you know, let's say Joker tears this season up. Like, let's say that Joker finishes this season top 5 in scoring, number 1 in rebounds, number 1 in assists. Let's say he finishes even top 12 in steals in the league, right? Does he deserve to be on the Mount Rushmore of centers already? Because I don't want to say he's the most skilled center I've ever seen, things like that. Like, I hear people say shit like that all the time. It's wildly untrue. Most skilled center ever. Wildly untrue. There's too many different skill sets that you can pinpoint for too many different guys. You can say that Akeem Olajuwon has the greatest footwork and has the most blocks in NBA history. You can say that that's a skill set that you'll pretty much never see again. So I don't really want to say the best skill set.
Yeah.
But, like, we all know who the Mount Rushmore of centers are, I think. It's Shaq, Kareem, Hakeem, and Wilt Chamberlain, not in that order, but those are the 4 guys.
Yeah.
Right?
That's who it is for me. I guess if you're one of those dudes who you want to put Bill Russell on there and bump Hakeem, I don't have a problem with that. But just, like, for me, it's like when you watch the guys play, obviously Hakeem is, you know,
is a better basketball
every player
player
of all time. You're
not
taking
knocking
Hakeem
what Bill
Olajuwon before
Russell.
you take Bill Russell.
We're not knocking what he did for the game. I mean, this dude is an unbelievable athlete, won a bunch of championships, first black head coach to win a championship. Like, this dude's unbelievable. This dude's unbelievable. Like,
An
I can't.
untouchable legacy for real. I mean, 11 rings in 13 years. You also won a ring as a player/coach. Like, you're playing and coaching. That's ridiculous.
Jackie Moon, dog.
But
So, like,
yeah.
so
But
that's
just whenever
the
I watch
thing.
these guys play, if I'm taking a player, I need Hakeem on my squad over Bill Russell.
And it's not knocking motherfuckers saying that a dude who played in the 80s and won championships in the 90s, dog, is a better basketball player than the original basketball player. Like, Steph,
Right,
James
exactly.
Harden is a better basketball player than Jerry West. He's not greater than him, but he is a better basketball player than him.
Right.
Like that,
Big
so it's
difference
not.
between-
And if you want to
yeah,
go off
it's
like
big
greatest
difference
players
between
of all time,
greatness.
we're talking about best here. We're talking about the boats. We
Right.
ain't talking about the goats. We talking
Right.
about the boats. So that would be
Yeah,
both of
big
our top
difference.
4. We've talked about it enough to know. Like, I know we're on the same page for top 4. Right?
Yeah.
If the
So,
Joker finishes
a
this
fourth-
season,
a-
if the Joker
a
finishes
fourth
this
MVP.
season like this with a 4th MVP, does he get to be on the Mount Rushmore? Yay or nay?
So I think the real, to simplify the question, is does a 4th MVP and a ridiculous season like this put him ahead of Hakeem
Hakeem.
Olajuwon? And it's a really tough question because there's only, one championship separating them. Hakeem only has 1 MVP, but he's got a Defensive Player of the Year award, probably 2
And
of
the
them.
most blocks.
And like by far the most blocks. Like his blocks compared to everyone else's is ridiculous. It's never going to get passed. Never.
Mm-mm.
I mean, this dude played 18 years and averaged over 3 blocks a game for his career. Like, no one's going to do that again.
Correct.
So I don't know if I could put him above Hakeem, because yes, championships are a team sport, but the way Hakeem won his championships, and especially the first one, just absolutely ridiculous. Like, so I don't know if I can put him ahead of Hakeem yet,
But
but
the second
I don't know, man.
championship that Hakeem won, they were out. They were done. It took one of the greatest single game playoff performances by Clyde Drexler to get these guys back on pace. Like, I think they were even
Yeah.
down 3-1 in a series, or like they were like Clyde Drexler came through big, scored like a bunch of points in the fourth quarter, led the charge, got these guys back on pace. I think they were down 3-1 in a series or down like 2-0 in a best of 5 or some shit. They were struggling. They were struggling, and you had to have teammates win championships for you. And I think that we could also say that you got to have things like that to win championships. The Joker won a championship.
100%.
Joker won his championship with a team that we can all look back on now and say, yeah, Jamal Murray hooped, but takes a special player to win a championship with that Denver Nuggets squad.
It does, but that Nuggets squad was super good. Even whenever the season started, we all were like, the Nuggets are probably going to win this. Like, they
Agreed.
had a perfect 1 through 5. They had a perfect one through
Agreed.
five. Two really good bench players. Like, they had a hell of a squad.
They did. They
And
did.
yeah, but everyone who has championships, especially everyone who has multiple championships, always had a teammate win them a game or two along the way. That's just part of it.
Well, this is
Even
kind of what
in
I would say,
like,
right? About championships is like, so David Robinson has 2 championships. So, like, does he get to be in the same class as Joker? I mean, like, I know Joker's got a bunch of MVPs and shit.
no,
Like,
absolutely not. No,
but
no,
David
no,
Robinson's a
absolutely
hooper.
not. Was
He's
never
a
the best
hooper.
player on a championship team. He's an absolute hooper. But you never accomplished anything until Tim Duncan got there.
I know, but still, never had a lot of good
That, that
teammates.
that's facts. That's 100% facts. Sometimes luck plays part of the legacy, unfortunately.
Exactly. But he got a scoring title.
Magic Johnson isn't ranked where he's at all time if he doesn't get drafted by the Lakers. That's not happening.
No
Does
way.
he still have championship MVPs? Yes. Does he have 5 championships? Very unlikely.
No. No, he does not know. If Larry Bird goes to the Celtics, and Magic Johnson goes anywhere but the Philadelphia 76ers or Los Angeles Lakers, then no, he doesn't even have he can't even sniff 5 championships.
Right.
Can't even fucking sniff it.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
but yeah, at the end of the day, like, I of course Joker I think goes above David Robinson, unfortunately, because I'm a big Admiral fan. But like, if he does win another MVP this year, which like you can't put too much stock into MVPs, because like if you have the same amount of MVPs as LeBron James as like in your Joker, like, I mean, LeBron's never even been considered for an MVP since he was like 26 or 27, which is wild.
LeBron
like,
never even won an MVP in his prime. I don't care what anybody says. LeBron's prime was not in Miami. It was his second stint in Cleveland. That's the best basketball player you're ever going to watch from the eye test perspective.
He had a 5-year stretch, really. It was like his last year in Miami, the 4 years in Cleveland, and then his first year on the Lakers. I know he got hurt, but like that 6-year stretch right there is his prime. That's his prime. But especially in Cleveland.
When he left Miami, he was a different player when he got back to Cleveland. He was more aggressive. He understood the game better. He understood finally what we was asking LeBron to understand his whole career. And my biggest beef with LeBron always was, stop doing these dumbass feel-out games. Stop letting your teammates try to find a rhythm. You come out and set the tone. You come out and set the pace. You come out and get in kill mode, and your teammates will feed off that energy. And he started finally doing that his second go-around in Cleveland. And that's why that's the best version of LeBron.
So it sounds like
26 points a game in the playoffs. Go on somewhere, dude.
So it sounds like you're that you're going to say that this does not put him above Hakeem Olajuwon.
I wouldn't argue with anyone who did. Sometimes it just comes down to what I would base it off of is this, because right now give Jokic another MVP, they're neck and neck, and with what he's doing. So then for me, it would just come down to, if I was going to draft one of these guys, who would I take? And I would take Hakeem over Jokic.
I would too. I agree with that 100%.
That's the tiebreaker for me, is I would take Hakeem over Jokic. And it's not an easy choice, but that's who I would go with if they're both on the draft board and I need a center.
Correct.
I'm taking Hakeem.
I would too. I would also take Dream. And then, to get away from basketball for a sec, I do want to talk about the NFL, because we won't stay on this very long. but I think I've seen some knee-jerk reactions I think that we need to pull back on a little bit. I want to start with the Bills-Chiefs first. That just because I think that this will be a very simple thing to say for myself. Two things I want to say about this game. Number one, good for you, Josh Allen. You know, you've beat them 3 times in a row or 4 times in a row in the regular season. Doesn't matter. You understand that this doesn't matter. But
Right.
that a
Doesn't
good
matter.
football team beat another good football team at home. It does not matter. This game was in Buffalo. The
Right.
Chiefs haven't lost since last Christmas. So I'm happy for the Bills, though. More competitive AFC is always a good thing. Josh Allen getting confidence, beating the Chiefs is a good thing. And then the other knee-jerk reaction I want to say is the Chiefs are not in trouble, everybody. I know everybody says that they are, right? Because everybody will last week they should have lost. Well, they didn't.
Right.
And then
Whenever
people are
you
saying,
win games that you should have lost, that's usually a sign that you're good.
that you're good. And then people are saying, well, Josh Allen's
Yeah.
best quarterback in football now. Not true. Hasn't best quarterback been the same best quarterback in football the last 3 years. But this is what I really wanted to say is people are saying now the Chiefs are more vulnerable than ever because their offense isn't moving the football. And I swear on my fucking life that this sounds identical to the shit that we heard last year. The receivers can't catch ball.
And the year before.
Can't catch ball. Can't catch one. These guys are about to get Pacheco back. They're going to get Hollywood Brown back as well. Like, these dudes are about to be a formidable group of motherfuckers that y'all don't want to play. Like, y'all don't want to play these motherfuckers, okay? So I just want to let everybody know that the panic meter of the Chiefs is bullshit. Josh Allen beating them does not mean the Bills are going to win the Super Bowl, and everything in the universe is still exactly the same that it was before that football game started, and that's that Patrick Mahomes is the baddest motherfucking man on the planet. The Chiefs are the favorite to win the Super Bowl. And I know this because if you polled 1 million football fans and told them that they have to put their life savings on a team to win the Super Bowl, every single majority of people are going to say the fucking Chiefs because that's where you put your money.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
I just kind of wanted to leave that at rest and throw that out the window because I know you probably feel the same way. I just wanted to get that out of the way before we actually get into shit that matters.
That's facts. There's nothing to add to that because everything that you just mentioned, all the knee-jerk reactions, all the talking about is Josh Allen the best quarterback, yada yada. It's all just made-up talking points because we know who the best team is. We know who the best quarterback is. Like you said, it's been the best quarterback for the last 5-6 years. It's been the best team for the last 3-4 years.
Winners win.
Until someone proves otherwise, there's nothing to talk about.
And it would be different if the Kansas City Chiefs had won a couple Super Bowls, but like their biggest question mark was like they lost some talent and their coach is shaky. They have the best coach in football. They're the best quarterback in football. Right. We saw what happened in New England when this was the case. You win championships more than you don't, it seems like. So let's just leave that
honestly,
there.
Like my knee-jerk reaction to the Chiefs losing was that's good. That's good for them.
100%.
You don't have to deal. You got your loss out of the way. You don't have to deal with any undefeated season talk. Which honestly, we probably jinxed them because we were the first on the last episode of the cartoons we did with the Chiefs with the dark magic and going for the undefeated season. That's how it usually goes. As soon as you start talking about an undefeated season, you lose a game. So
well, I knew they weren't going to go undefeated because Andy Reid won't even coach for an undefeated. He won't even coach for an undefeated season.
Not.
If they were 13-0 and had the 1 seed locked up, he'd sit his team. He'd let everybody play one half of the next 4 games and sit them out the rest and just get reps. Me too. Me too, dog. So the game I really want to get to though is the Steelers-Ravens. So this is kind of a big deal game because the Steelers now hold first place in the division. Kind of a big deal. They play again this season. But do you think what is your reaction as far as does this make the Steelers the team to beat in the AFC North? Or is this just they won at home? The Ravens, Steelers are always going to be a juggernaut, drag-out football game, not that big of a deal. Keep in mind the Steelers have won 8 out of the last 9 games against these guys. Lamar's only beat the Steelers once in his NFL career, I believe, maybe twice. But he's lost 8 out of the last 9 to him. Is this more to do about nothing, or is this the Steelers are the best team in the AFC North and it's time to recognize and everybody get the fuck out the way?
I don't know if they're the best team in the AFC North. I don't know. Come playoff time, I would put my money on the Ravens to make it further, no matter who the matchups were. Unless something happens and the Ravens run into the Chiefs in the first round, then But I do think that people need to actually start talking about Pittsburgh as
they are now
a real team that can make some serious noise. And I don't expect them to make it out of the AFC. I don't think any team has a chance to make it out of the AFC outside of Kansas City and Buffalo. But I
I
think they're a
think
team that nobody's going to want to play.
I think that the Steelers are the only team in the AFC that can beat the Chiefs.
Really?
And this is why I say this is there's two big reasons for it. I'll leave the biggest reason second. So first reason is just Russell Wilson being Russell Wilson, dog. This dude wins football games. Like, take
It
his
is
shitty
magic.
year and a half, 2 years out of Denver, and this dude wins football games consistently, completes
Yeah,
65% of his
absolutely.
passes, marches teams down the football field, scores 21 to 27 points a game, and wins football games, and he always fucking has. He always has done it.
Yeah.
I think Sean Payton, being the douchebag that he is, soured us on Russell Wilson. Whenever he told us he was
Yeah.
washed, I think everybody was like, that makes sense, though. He's been in the league for a long time. He's in his 30s. He's a mobile quarterback. His legs maybe aren't what they used to be. Maybe he is washed. And come to find out, he's still a fucking winning machine. He hasn't lost since he's been the starter in Pittsburgh. They look like the best team in the AFC North. And the second reason why I think that they are the only team that can beat the Chiefs is because they have TJ Watt. And TJ Watt, every single time he's on the football field, is the best player on the football field every single time he steps on a football field. As far as defensive players go, no matter who is on the football field, no matter who is playing, he is the best player on the football field. And 95% of the time, he's going to be the best player on both sides of the football field. And that includes anybody they play for the most part. He is a bad motherfucker.
Right.
And I also think... Now, one thing that is confusing about the Ravens-Steelers game is the Ravens did a really bad... Like, this will be one of the few times you hear me say this, that Harbaugh did a bad job coaching because he needs to go over to his offensive coordinator and kick him in the dick. Derrick Henry had 13 rushes last night for 65 yards. Derrick Henry averaged 5 yards a carry last night and didn't touch the ball in the fourth quarter. That is bad coaching. That is the worst coaching you can even possibly do because Derrick Henry is the best running back of his generation. It's not even fucking close. However, though, the Steelers' defense is for real. Mike Tomlin as a coach is for real. And if you don't think Russell Wilson can take a team to a Super Bowl, then you haven't been watching football for the last 15 years because this dude is good at football and they have everything they need to do this. Like, I do think that the Ravens have the best offense in the AFC North. I do think the Ravens have the best quarterback in the AFC North. What I do think they have is also a shaky defense and a love affair for Lamar Jackson that sometimes gets them in trouble because we saw him play. We saw this against the Chiefs in the opening week. They gave Derrick Henry like 8 to 10 carries that game. Now you're playing the Steelers, and you fell in love with Lamar Jackson again. Do not try to get Lamar Jackson the MVP. Do not try to make Lamar Jackson the most important player on your offense. Derrick Henry is the most important player on your offense because when he's going, you cannot beat the Ravens because they will control the ball, they will control the pace, and Lamar Jackson will then drop a deep ball dime on you and finish you off. That is the recipe for them to win. But I do think the Steelers are the best team in the AFC North simply because they have the best coach in the AFC North. I don't think there's anything that you can say about that they don't have the best coach in the AFC North, considering head-to-heads, he dominates Harbaugh in head-to-heads. He's won 8 out of the last 9 against this dude. And I don't think anybody would say that in the last 9 games, the Steelers have had a better team than the Ravens. Nobody would say that.
Absolutely
And
not.
they keep beating
Absolutely
them.
not.
Because they're better coached. So I do like them. And then we're running low on time. So I have a wild take for you, though. And you can chime in on it if you want. This is going to be the very best quarterback draft class in NFL history is what we're seeing right now. This will be the best draft class in NFL history. And keep in mind that John Elway and Dan Marino went in the same fucking draft. But this will be the best draft class that we've ever seen. What do you say?
Or the guys that are about to get drafted or the current rookies?
The current rookies right now, this is the best draft class for quarterbacks in NFL history. This is the best one.
Ooh.
This is the best draft class, and I think that the numbers support it. I think, and it's not like Drake May can ball, Bo Nix can ball, Caleb Williams can ball, Jaden Daniels can ball. Like, these guys can ball. Like, I think that we're about to see 4 franchise quarterbacks in the same draft. And when I say franchise, I mean 15 years. These motherfuckers going to be leading the charge for their teams. And interestingly enough, wild take here, the quarterback that could take the most steps back and be the worst quarterback out of the 4 is Jaden Daniels. I gave him his flowers early. He deserves his flowers. I think the dude's a baller. I don't think that this is going to happen to him. I do not. but I do think that we are seeing the best quarterback draft class in NFL history right now. And I'd be willing to bet by the time it's all said and done that, like, we'll look back on this and be like, it's not even close. It's not even close.
To say we'll look back and say it's not even close is a pretty wild take, because whenever Elway and Marino, I mean, those dudes are like both top 8 all time.
Correct.
And I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure there was another Hall of Fame quarterback out of that class, maybe like Dan Fouts or somebody, I don't know. But I'm pretty sure there was another Hall of Fame quarterback in there.
There's been some good ones. I'm
So
pretty sure that
if this draft class is going to top them, one of those dudes has to make it into the top 10 all-time quarterbacks, and the rest of them got to be really good for a long time.
I'm pretty sure about this, and I could be wrong, but like I'm 99% sure that Big Ben and Aaron Rodgers also went in the same draft. Pretty sure. Pretty fucking sure about that. I didn't do a lot of research into this when I said it because I just know that like most quarterback draft classes where there's like a bunch of good quarterbacks, there's only 2 that are actually really good. There's only 2.
Right. Always.
And that's a fact. But let me see this real quick. I'm gonna do a quick Google search real quick so that we can kind of get this figured out. But my thing about it is I just haven't seen rookie quarterbacks come in the league like this and be this good. Like Bo Nix can fucking ball.
Yeah.
Like the Broncos are probably gonna go to the playoffs this year. I like their chances. They got a really good defense, offensive minded coach. I think Bo Nix has been balling. He gets better every week. So that's what I would kind of say about this is like, and Drake May gets better every week. And I think that Caleb Williams is a baller. I really do.
I was just about to ask you, what do you think happens for Caleb Williams' career?
I think he's a Hall of Famer. Well, it just depends because he got drafted by the very worst team that you can get drafted by as a rookie quarterback because the Bears, they ruin everything. Just absolutely everything. They just ruin it, dog. So it's one of those things.
I expect Caleb Williams, if he would have been drafted by an organization that knows how to run a football team, I would have high expectations for this kid. But since he got drafted by the Bears, I expect him to kind of be a nobody for the next 13 years. Not a nobody, but a dude who, like, that dude is good, but he sucks because he's on a sucky team, and so we don't talk about him.
He'll be a top 10 quarterback for a decade at least. This was the draft class I was confused.
Winning 7 games a year. Winning 7 to 9 games every year because he plays in Chicago.
This is the draft class I was confusing Aaron Rodgers with when I said Big Ben. I knew Big Ben went in a pretty stacked QB draft. So the Big Ben draft was Big Ben, Eli Manning, and Phillip Rivers. And Matt Schaub. And people, throw some respect on Matt Schaub's name. That dude balled for the Texans for years, dog. Like, not like, your bona fide stud, but the dude could play.
The dude could quarterback play in the NFL.
Okay, so you were right. The quarterback in that John Elway, Dan Marino draft that you were thinking of, who was a Hall of Famer, is Jim Kelly.
Oh, way better than Dan Fouts.
Yeah. So, but I think that,
but
God, yeah, they might not be better than these guys. These guys are pretty good.
That's a good draft.
I mean, there's between Elway, Dan Marino, and Jim Kelly. I'm pretty sure that they went to 10 Super Bowls combined. Only won 2. Yeah, only won 2 of those motherfuckers.
Yeah, only won 2. Went 2-8 in those motherfuckers, but yeah, Elway went to 5.
Yeah, lost his first 3.
4 in a row.
Lost all those motherfuckers. So honestly, not that awesome though. Not that awesome of a record.
Yeah.
Not great.
Great stats between those dudes.
The Aaron Rodgers draft that I was confused with because I knew that Aaron Rodgers, somebody drafted somebody ahead of Aaron Rodgers when he was pissed off. It was Alex Smith that was drafted ahead of him to the Niners. Aaron Rodgers wanted to go to the Niners because
Aaron Rodgers was super pissed off because exactly.
Because he's from Cali and shit. But honestly, I think there's a chance that this draft class is going to be better. I really, truly, honestly believe that. And the reason for it is because I do think that Caleb Williams and Bo Nix are both going to be Hall of Famers. I think Bo Nix can ball. I think Bo Nix is going to be the best quarterback out of this draft. Now, you know me. I've been having my eye on this kid when I was like preseason, I want to watch Bo Nix play. I got to watch this big-ass dude play. I like his game. I liked him in college watching him. I always had an inkling for this guy, and it was also because he was drafted by Sean Payton, and that's a good guy to get drafted by. And the Denver Broncos are not a shitty organization to get drafted by. That is a solid organization. They've had their ups and downs, but they're consistently decent. It's just they had a hard time finding a quarterback. Join the club. Once you can't find one for a long time, it's tough. It's
You
really,
in
really hard.
purgatory. That's NFL purgatory, man.
It is.
Having no franchise quarterback.
It is, but I bet you, I mean, how many teams got more Super Bowls than these motherfuckers since John Elway started winning? They got 3 since Elway went 2 in a row, and then Peyton.
Mm.
I mean, like,
And
the Cowboys
didn't
got
really
3.
have to go through didn't really have to suck too bad in that time. It ain't like they had to tank to get a good draft pick or anything. I mean, they even won a playoff game with Tim Tebow.
Right. That's what I'm saying. So, like, these dudes, like, they try to be good, and they're a proud franchise. Like, they're a proud franchise. I don't think the Bears used to be. The Bears used to be a proud
They used to
franchise.
be. Now they're a joke. Now they're a joke.
You guys suck. Quit sucking so fucking bad. Quit fucking sucking so goddamn bad all the time. You guys literally had one of the best defenses that I've ever seen grace an NFL gridiron. Like, that team, when Cleo Mack was in his prime, and those Bears were flying around that football field, it's the fastest defense I've ever seen from the front guys all the way back. It's the fastest defense I've ever seen grace a football field. I'm only 32, everybody. So any comments you guys have of teams from the early 2000s or 90s, suck my dick. I don't care. But
hey, this is why, getting drafted by these sucky franchises. That's why you got shout out to John Elway. Shout out to Eli Manning. I know like they both took a lot of hate for that shit, but I ain't playing for no sucky organization neither. I'm not coming to work.
Shout out Deion.
Bust my ass every day.
Deion Sanders already said, my son ain't fucking playing for some of these bums. My son ain't going to these teams. We'll decide where he goes.
Not doing it.
We're not
doing
playing.
it. I'm not.
Look at
Phillip
Rivers is like number 6 all time in passing yards. I think he's number 6. Could be wrong, but I know he's top 8. Not even an appearance in a Super Bowl.
Right.
When Phillip Rivers
he got drafted the same time as Eli. Eli's like, nah, I ain't playing for the Chargers. I'm going to New York.
Boom, 2 Super Bowls.
And they're pretty much the same good. Eli Manning and Phillip Rivers are pretty much the same.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There was a year.
Phillip Rivers is more consistent, but Eli Manning isn't any worse of a quarterback. He's not any better of a quarterback, and he's got 2 Super Bowls and 2 Super Bowl MVPs.
The Chargers one year had the number 1 offense and number 1 defense in the NFL when Phillip Rivers was the quarterback there. Missed playoffs. Missed the playoffs. Do not play for the Chargers. However, though, Chargers on the up and up. Very scary team for everybody in the AFC.
Hey, now
them
that they
motherfuckers are spooky.
A real quarterback, no doubt. The Chargers
all of a sudden you get rid of fucking John Staley or whatever that cocksucker's name, and who don't know how to fucking coach football, and boom, booyakasha, baby.
Brother, and there you good to go.
You good to go.
Also, Trevor Lawrence. That's what you should have done. You should have done the Eli Manning. Like, all this shit you're going through right now could have been avoided if you would have just been like a little bit of an asshole for one day, and then you would have fucking landed somewhere where your whole career is going to be fucking wasted. Every year you spend in Jacksonville is a waste of your career, and it's just only going to slow you down and just inhibit you from having any kind of real success. You're just holding back your own greatness playing for that shitty-ass organization.
However,
the Jacksonville Jaguars ought to be ashamed of themselves.
I will say this, though. Is that there is something to be said, though, about quarterbacks that are good enough that it doesn't matter. And I do think that that's why you guys have to be careful in the NFL paying these guys all this money, because you can say what you want about Trevor Lawrence and the Jags, okay? I get it. Joe Burrow plays for the fucking Bengals, everybody. And he went to a Super Bowl already. He's 5-2 in the playoffs, Joe Burrow. 5-2. The Bengals are a shitty organization. And I know they're having their struggles this year, and that's part of the problem. I understand. But Trevor Lawrence deserves to be shit on a little bit for the fucking dog shit play that he's doing, because you guys went to the playoffs 2 years ago.
This is true.
You guys went to the playoffs.
Trevor Lawrence is not playing well.
Cam Newton took the Panthers to a Super Bowl, and the Panthers are the one organization in football that I would play for the last. I play for them last.
Hey, Jake Delhomme took the Panthers to a Super Bowl. The Panthers are not a super trash organization like Jacksonville.
The Texans, before C.J. Stroud got there, were a wreck. They were a wreck. Our quarterback's raping women, supposedly. We suck. Boom, good. Boom, good immediately. However, though, they hired a good coach. All those things are true. The Bears, they don't know how to hire good coaches. If the Bears wanted John Harbaugh, I'd be willing to bet every dollar I got that he would have went to Chicago, stayed in the Midwest, and had Caleb Williams as his fucking quarterback. Look at all the guys that were available in the offensive. The Bears hired their offensive coordinator first There was 10 openings for offensive coordinator last year. They hired their offensive coordinator first, and he doesn't even have a job there anymore. Doesn't even have a job. So these are things that
I ain't playing for them.
I ain't playing for the fucking Bears either, dog. You guys' head coach selection always sucks dick. You guys do a bad job. Bad job across the board. Ran overtime today. Is there anything else that happened in the NFL yesterday that you thought was interesting or warranted any kind of conversation?
I don't know, but I want one of our fans, if you're watching this, clip out that part of Devin saying that this is going to be one of the best draft classes ever. And you save that shit for like the next 10, 15 years and replay it. We'll see if he was right.
I'm telling you, motherfuckers, these guys are good. These guys are good. And you're going to see.
They are.
But here's the thing, though. And this could legitimately happen, is that we see Bo Nix in the playoffs. We see Jaden Daniels in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Drake May not going to make it. Caleb Williams was 4-2. He was 4-2. Coach made bad decisions. Same thing with the Bears yesterday. Coach, they said, hey, coach, you had a timeout left with 30 seconds left and on second down, and you chose to ran the clock out and then kick a 46-yard field goal, right? You didn't run another play. He said,
oh, my God.
This is what he said. Yeah, them yards wouldn't have mattered. They were stacking the box. We didn't want to risk a fumble. Sounds awfully familiar to when he said those 15 yards didn't matter on that Hail Mary. That would have made him 5-2. They'd have been 5-2 if he gave a fuck about those 15 yards. If you get 5 more yards because you ran the football and then called timeout, what did the Chargers do? The Chargers yesterday, tie ball game. They can kick a 40-yard field goal. It's first or second down, 35 seconds to go. They run the ball, break out for a touchdown, and win the football game. Win it. Because they didn't say, fuck those yards, and didn't play scared. Chicago Bears head coach, I hope you know that you're the second worst head coach in the NFL when it comes to making decisions, and now you have to be the worst because luckily for Nick Sirianni, he has the best running. He has fucking Saquon Barkley and Jalen Hurts. You're the worst. You're the worst. You should resign. And for all Bears fans, I feel bad for you, but fuck you for cheering for him.
Stop going to the games, Bears.
Stop going to the games.
That's the thing. We need to normalize boycotting shitty teams. Like, stop supporting shitty teams. Like, if your team ain't trying to be good, if your team keeps fucking up, run your fucking team's finances into the ground. Stop buying their merch. Stop going to their games. Your owner will fucking sell it eventually. Like, I don't understand how people do this shit. I don't get it.
It's insane.
There's no such thing as loyalty in sports. There should be no loyalty. Your franchise, your owner has no loyalty to the fans. So to show loyalty to somebody who has no loyalty to you does not make you a fan. It makes you a sucker.
Correct.
Cut that shit out.
Well, we can end on that note.
Hold them accountable.
We'll end on that note. Boycott bad teams, though, guys. I'm telling you, shit'll work. Boycott everything you hate. Boycott everything you hate, dog. Gas is too expensive. Don't drive for a week. I'm telling y'all, motherfuckers, if you don't spend money, shit changes. If we all get together and don't spend money, shit fucking changes. Nobody buys a Bears fucking ticket, and every fan says we're not buying tickets until you fire the head coach, and nobody shows up to the next game. He'll be fired that game before the game's over.
I'm not really a big proponent. Last thing I want to say, I'm not a big proponent of telling people to boycott different businesses and stuff. But if we could all boycott all the streaming services we have to watch all these damn games now, it's worse than cable ever was. I hate the streaming era.
I'm not telling you to boycott specific businesses. Just shit you hate.
About this, man.
Even
I need all my games in one place.
Everybody says groceries are too expensive. Nobody buy groceries for 48 hours. Should be cheap. Be a lot cheaper. Just saying.
Stop eating.
Yes. Stop fucking feeding into this bullshit, everybody. But that's enough time for us. You heard it here first. You heard it here first. Best draft class of quarterbacks ever. You heard it here first. The historians will watch this in 100 years and be like, why was this guy not on fucking TV? That's all I'll say. All right. We love y'all, fans. We'll holler at y'all. We'll have another podcast this week. Deuces.